This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
This episode of the Fandalorian podcast is brought to you by the Adler Real Estate Team. If you live in New York, anywhere between Manhattan and Montauk, and are looking to buy or sell, you need to call the Adler Real Estate Team. This real estate company is run by a husband and wife duo that, in addition to being real estate agents, are also a public school teacher and a police officer. It is a family-run business that gives you the attention and care you need when you are about to make one of the most important decisions of your life. And I know from experience. Also, if you mention that you are a fan of the Fandalorians, they will be able to get you up to $2,000 back at closing. It doesn't matter if you are buying or listing. So, if you are buying or selling anywhere from Manhattan to Montauk, call the Adler Real Estate Team at 631-384-6372. Or check out the website at adlerrealestateteam.com. Mention the Fandalorians and save today.
Welcome back, class. On today's episode, we have a late assignment coming in. We review Netflix's live-action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. All this and more in an Avatar State of Mind episode of the Fandalorians. Teachers by day, nerds by night.
That is the bell. Class is back in session. Welcome to the Fandalorians podcast, Teachers by Day, Nerds by Night. Proud part of the Unfiltered Studios podcasting network. This is the #1 public school teacher pop culture fandom podcast in the country. Give you all the latest news in the worlds of entertainment, lively discussion on all matters of pop culture and fandom. Sometimes we have the discussions before we even start recording, so you don't even get the good stuff. But you're still going to get quality entertainment. There was some good stuff we were talking about, though, guys. But
I know they don't get the hot takes. They get the medium takes.
Yeah. My name is Mr. Richardson, 4th grade teacher, and the man who may leave in the middle of the podcast.
What?
I may have to jump out because, listen, man of 1,000 shows, Eddie, friend of the show, who's been on the past 2 episodes. He called me a little while ago, and he was like, listen, he's supposed to come and help me with something here at my house. As you know, the fans of the show know he has a contracting business. He's always all over the place, building homes, doing things like that, fixing houses. He says he's in a lot of pain. I said, what happened? He fell a little bit in the driveway and thinks he ripped his quad. So I said, are you sure? And the way he described it, and I actually know this one decently, you know, your quad rips, it's burning, it's fire because it's ripped off the boat, like it falls apart. Now, sometimes you can ice it unless it's really bad, then they got to reattach it. He can't walk. He's falling apart. And then his wife's out of town. He has to attend his daughter's event. Violin, like chamber night thing. So he's on his way there, and I said, listen, if it gets really bad, I will come pick you up. It ended just a minute ago. We're gonna get live updates during the podcast. He is in fire. He can't walk. He can't go up steps. And I'm like, yo, all this to get out of helping me around my house with a couple of odd jobs I can't figure out. Man, that's terrible. So listen, Eddie, man of 1,000 shows, friend of the show. By the time this airs, you're either going to be 100% or dead. So whatever way it turns out for you, though, I am rooting for you.
Either way, the pain will stop.
Exactly.
Co-teaching with me today, New York City public school teacher and the man who taught about the world's richest duck today, Mr. McDonald.
You know who the world's richest duck is, right?
Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, obviously. So I am in the middle of doing an entrepreneur project where the kids have to research an entrepreneur, and they're supposed to target kind of young entrepreneurs, but any entrepreneur will do. And I want them to focus on the qualities and the traits that made these entrepreneurs successful. And so I wanted to give them an example without giving them a real example. Because, guys, you know what happens when you give them a real example, right?
Yeah,
they take it.
They just use that and that's it. So my entrepreneur project, I made a project on Scrooge McDuck.
I'm thinking and I'm racking my brain. How did he earn his number one dime?
He ran a shoe shine stand.
Yep.
And the guy gave him a dime. He's also made his money being richer than the Richies and smarter than the Smarties, if I remember correctly.
That's right out of my presentation.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
man, I know. I was there.
So technically, he is an adventure capitalist who hunts for lost treasure and adds to his fortune, but also pursues various startups. He hunts for treasures, mines for diamonds, owns a variety of manufacturing firms, including a bean factory. Now, what I do is I give this presentation to the kids, and I'm like, "How long do you think this presentation took me?" I was like, 4 minutes. Thanks, Google.
You
Still
don't
not
pick,
enough time.
They pick who they want, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So they're doing Bill Gates and Andrew
one's
Carnegie and
No one's doing
Elon
Bruce
Musk.
Wayne. No Bruce Wayne. No, we're not gonna.
No,
Luthor.
they have to be real.
Bruce
because
Wayne is
we
real.
know that Bruce Wayne's the cover. If they chose Batman, that would be okay.
You know what? That's a great point. You're right. Yeah, absolutely right. My other co-teacher, second grade teacher, who is currently listening to The Vietnam War by Jeffrey C. Ward, Ken Burns, Brian Corrigan, Fred Sanders, Mr. G. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
I
added
saw
your
that.
name, and I
Yes.
thought, like, wait, you wrote this too? My God, man,
Yes.
you're out there.
Well, it all started. It all started with listening to Kristen Hanna's "The Women," and that's set in Vietnam. So at the end of her book, she was talking more about Vietnam, and I was thinking to myself, in high school, I remember learning about Vietnam, but not very much about Vietnam. I don't really talk about that a lot in school. I remember in high school,
Charlie, that when we were in high school, Vietnam was only 20 years ago.
yeah. So
That's like learning about the war in Afghanistan right now.
you know what? Maybe that's what it was. So, I knew the basic concept of what happened in Vietnam and, that stuff. But then I remember when they started I don't know if it was Iraq or it was probably the Afghan war, when they were talking about, there was a lot of congressmen and congressional people that were talking about, didn't want it to be another Vietnam. And I kind of loosely understood that until I started listening to this book. And I was like, oh, wow, I totally get it. From the second the Americans, according to this book, which I find very reputable source, Ken Burns, I love his books, they realized right away that this was an unwinnable war. It just kept grinding on because of the election cycle.
Optically leaving will hurt one side and promote the other to
Exactly.
an election. So
Yeah,
you
good
gotta
thing
stick
that
it out.
never happens
No.
again.
Yeah.
Nowadays it doesn't.
The Vietnam War officially ended
1975.
in January after Nixon was elected his second term in November. So they were like, all right, let's just get it done.
Yeah, we're done.
But then I actually took a break from this book because it's 32 hours long. I'm
Yes.
actually 11 hours into the book. So I took a break and I actually listened to.
So hold on, wait. What you're saying is there's no way out of this book.
No.
So I got to listen to it now because it's like
You're
screaming
in the
with it.
quagmire. You're stuck in
No.
Vietnam, much like America. It's an allegory for the war in Vietnam.
Wow,
But
that's deep.
So I listened to this book, Matterhorn, by Carl Merlantz, and it's a novelization, and it's made up. He is a decorated war veteran, a Vietnam veteran. And it's a very interesting story, a very like platoon type, compelling story. My only issue with the story is there's like way too many characters to follow. Like you should have just stuck with one. He had a lot of like side quests of different people. Oh, and you know what? Randomly side note here. I stopped listening and refused to listen to the rest of Wicked.
Why?
It is the worst book ever written on this planet Earth.
Whoa.
Wow,
Hot
that is a
take.
bold take.
Hot
No,
take.
it's not even a hot take. If you go on like Goodreads, it has numerous 1-star reviews about how it's the worst book ever. And it really was.
So it's a bad book, but a good musical?
Exactly. And it kind of annoyed me. Some people in their reviews were like, but it's a great musical. I'm like, yeah, but it's a terrible.
That's
Why
not
would
what
you
we're
say
doing.
any? It's
Yeah,
a
that's
terrible
not-
book. You know
that's
why?
not-
You know what? The part that got me at 80% of the book was that the Wicked Witch didn't really care about the shoes. And I'm like, what? That was like the crux of the whole.
Yeah.
And that the Munchkins and Galinda, the Good Witch, were just like, yeah, it was some girl. She said she was from Kansas, and I didn't really know what to do with her. I didn't know what to help her. I didn't really know what she wanted. So I suggested going to see the wizard just to get her out of here.
Yeah, I'm gonna say my version was better than the one that you read.
Super weird. Well, yours was a version of like not wicked. Yours was just
No, I know. It was a lightsaber fight.
But it was like ridiculously like what? The whole point of the movie, she wanted those shoes, and now she could care less. But what was funny is all the Munchkins were upset because taxed them to build that yellow brick road, and they weren't happy about it.
No taxation without representation.
Yeah, apparently Munchkins weren't very happy.
No, it's like a sports team ready to move. Hey, listen, Villa Arena, we're taking our yellow brick road. We're going somewhere else.
Yeah,
we're leaving Seattle, and we're going to OKC. You're just going to deal with it.
So anyone listening, Wicked, the novel, was absolutely terrible. The person who turned it into a play deserves every award, everything to them, because the novel was absolutely terrible.
Interesting.
And that's my take.
I know Charlie's coming out firing today.
He's killing it. How can you support the show? First, start by asking your child's teacher if they need anything. Teachers from kindergarten to high school always need something. We promote teachers who are always having fun. It's getting close to the end of the year too. Just reach out, have time, or if you know teachers in your life, you have friends who are teachers. All of us here know at least one teacher, other than us, maybe. Reach out, help them out, and say, "Listen, the Fandalorians told me you need these." And when they say who are they, you give them the link to the podcast. See, it's a win-win for everyone. And check out the merch on TeePublic link. And if you live on Long Island, check out Red Shirt Comics in downtown Port Jeff Village for all your comic needs. And for those listeners who don't remember, shop at your local comic shops. And once again, tell them the Fandalorian sent you. And if they ask who we are, just tell them about the podcast. See, that's what you can go out and promote for us, right? Buy some comics and say nice things about us. You make us happy. Guys, I got through all the stuff. We've learned so far that Wicked stinks. We've learned that Eddie is somewhere in pain. There's a lot happening. Oh, and Scrooge McDuck is a billionaire. And Bruce Wayne, Batman's real. There's a lot we've discussed so far. We have more to do. We got to finally break down Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's coming up after this. What is it, Charlie?
You have stumbled over like a million words because I think you're talking way too fast. You just said airbidder. You didn't say airbender very clearly. And if you check your cell phone, I almost swear you said that what I just texted in our group chat.
I'm going to check this in the group chat right now. What did I say? I'm going to go very slow. It's time to do our post-observation review of Avatar: The Last Airbender, a live-action version of the animated series. Now I'm going to play the jingle, and I'm going to talk slow when I click the button.
Oh, it's so late! Fandalorian life has got me so busy. Podcasting all the time is making me dizzy. Teaching by day, nerding by night. How am I supposed to get this thing right? I'm down on bended knee. I know I had 3 weeks. Please accept it, please, with my sincerity.
Bro, is there extra credit?
Avatar: The Last Airbender is a live action. It's late, guys. Listen, animated series, you know all about it. It was created by Michael Dante DiMartino, Brian Konietzko for Nickelodeon. The series stars an ensemble cast, including Gordon Cormier, Kia Win-Teo, Ian Owles Lee, Dallas Liu, Paul Sun-Young Lee, and Ken Leong, and Daniel Day Kim. The series is set in a fictional world where human civilization is divided into 4 nations based on the 4 classical elements: Water Tribe, Earth Kingdom, Fire Nation, Air Nomads. In each nation, again, background information if you've never seen or heard of this before, which would be surprising if you're actually listening. In each nation, some people are known as benders who can telekinetically manipulate one of the 4 elements. Story follows the journey of 12-year-old Aang, the last survivor of the air nomads, and the next avatar who can master all 4 elements. The series was first announced in September of 2018, and the original creators were executive producers and showrunners. However, in June 2020, the pair departed the series over creative differences. Kim was officially announced as the writer, executive producer, and showrunner. The first season was released on Netflix on February 22nd.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it could have been, and it wasn't as good as I also thought it could have been. So how successful? It was kind of successful. And I'll talk about why a little bit later.
I thought it was successful in general. One, it totally blew M. Night Shyamalan's, whatever his name is, his version of Avatar out of the water. I feel sometimes, especially with something that I hold so near to my heart, when I was watching some episodes, I was like, what? What are they doing? This is blasphemy. But then thinking about why they made some of those choices, I totally get, and I will talk about that in a little bit.
All right, I love this. I'm gonna talk about that later. A lot of teasing in this show.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I like to burn the bridge early on. How successful was Lesson? It was okay. Here's the thing: the M. Night Shyamalan debacle is a very low bar to climb. So as long as these characters more or less called Aang by his real name, you pretty much have done light years better than he did.
I thought about
So,
that.
yeah, like wait, the name's right, yo. I'm in. I don't need to watch West. Shut it off. We're good. No. It's getting an A+. I'm out the door. I don't need to say it. They said the name right. Again, things I like, things I didn't like, character changes and stuff like that we'll get to, but I'll just dovetail right into what I liked about it since that's coming up, which is to what extent was your instructional delivery effective in this lesson? Here's what I liked. I thought the casting was well done. I think that they didn't whitewash this one like they did like he did the last one. I won't say they, it's he. I thought the characters looked like them. I wasn't. There's some parts of it I don't like, but the characters, especially Sokka, look like Sokka come to life. The mannerisms, some of it with Sokka, the mannerisms and things were there. I thought the bending was done well. It looked fluid. It didn't look cheesy. I thought, considering the amount of money they had, and I read some articles where they pulled money towards the finale. The bending, what it was, and it wasn't obviously as crazy as you can do in animation because they have a limited budget. They did a good job with what they had. It looked good. It really looked good. I sat there with Bryn. We watch every episode together, and she enjoyed it, but she had the same critiques that I have that I'll get to in a minute. I thought the CGI was okay. It wasn't great. Great for me is like Tony Stark's, Iron Man outfit in the Endgame. Like that's like the peer I've ever seen of most ridiculousness. We're not getting there with this, and I understand that. That's fine. So, but based on what they were able to do, I thought that was okay as well.
Yeah, and actually, one of the things I really liked was it was kind of a change from the original. I really like what they did with Fire Lord Sozai. I thought he was a really intimidating kind of bad guy, and they kind of pumped up Azula's part as well because she wasn't even in season 1 in the original. And I just really liked how they went a little bit further into that. And that was a really impressive way to tell a story that I know in a slightly different way. And that's what I like to see. Mr. G?
Yes. So what I liked about this was it definitely looked great. I felt that, it's a Netflix series. So, there is finite money here. But the money that they had and they used, I thought was well spent. Their costumes were great. They got dirty. They adventured.
Were you checking out fingernails?
There was plenty. One thing about Avatar in the series, they travel. I don't want to say it's the world, but they're part of the world.
Their world, yeah.
Traveling the world, where we saw a lot of diversity in scenery. So I thought that was really cool. Costume designs, once again, as far as how they looked, I thought they were pretty spot on with everything in terms of that, and the feel of the bending I thought was great. Mr. Richardson, you touched on casting, and I think Zuko's character cast is like perfect, spot on.
So next question is, what would you do differently if you had to teach this lesson again? Here's what I would completely do differently. I thought the writing was really, 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 really bad. I thought it was corny, cheesy, as my daughter Bryn put it, cringy. I thought they took the pendulum and went the other way and said, okay, the first movie didn't do anything. We're going to lift lines from the cartoon and put it right in the show. And what you find out, you need to make changes to lines as people say it. I mean, I'm no writer. I've written a few scripts and I've written a few things and have kids said it and looked at them and said, yeah, no, that's not going to work, because no one says that in real life. And now that I see you verbally saying it, we need to change it. I even wrote down a few lines that just drove me crazy. My worst one, I think, was when Aang realized everyone was dead. And he goes, oh, I'm so sad. That's terrible. And a fake cry. No, you don't need that. Show not tell. I think we all teach it. He could just look sad. He could just react. He could there's different things you can do. I think I would never, I've criticized a lot of things on this podcast. I would never criticize child actors because they're children. I will criticize the directors who did not, and the writers who did not give. I feel bad for these kids because they were poorly directed and they had terrible dialogue to work with, and they are not on the level to take some of this cheesy dialogue and make it better. And I have other things that I do, and I was on a Zoom the other day with some people doing some writing stuff, and I was arguing literally about this show because we were talking about it with some people, talking about how bad dialogue in the hands of good actors can sound incredible, but you don't have a director and you don't have anyone to do it. And I have an example I kind of want to share. It's really quick, but it's a perfect example that I use for the point. I'm going to share it real quick with you guys. This is from Fallout, and I saw the first episode of Fallout recently on Amazon. And then I got into the argument with these people, and I pointed out, and I actually pulled up the clip, and my Wi-Fi worked better enough to show it. And the line literally reads like this, and it reads corny because there's a guy coming to town. He's looking for something. He says, "Now you wouldn't happen to be the doctor, would you? Because I happen to be looking for one." And the lady goes, "You know your kind aren't welcome here." And he goes, "Well, maybe not, but I'm going to make myself welcome." That's the line. It's not, it just sounds, it is what it is. But when you see the clip of the actors taking that line and turning it into something, it's outstanding. Here's the same exact line with people doing it who know what they're doing. And that's my issue with this. There was no one there to direct them to turn something into nothing.
Or you wouldn't happen to be a doctor, would you? Because I happen to be looking for one.
You know your kind ain't welcome here.
Well, maybe not. But I'm going to make myself welcome.
That line that sounds simple, that guy just, even though, well, maybe not. That's not how I'm sure they wrote it, but he does it. You have bad directors with a terrible script with kids and no one can direct them how to do it. I think that must have driven them crazy. Some of these lines are so cringy. It works in animation. I didn't think it worked here. The showrunner is now off. Season 2 and 3 is being taken over by someone else who worked on the staff. So the main showrunner has left season 1. Maybe there'll be a change because of it. Who knows? But that's my biggest issue with this so far. What about you guys?
Well,
hold on really quick. So what does the showrunner actually do? I think we've talked about this before because I don't remember.
Any major decision he gets to make. So if any of this stuff is bad, he's the one who just allowed it. And the new showrunners, there's 2 who were some of the, I don't know what they did before. He's now going to be the executive producer, which is, here's the title so you can get paid money, but you're not really in charge anymore. That's what the executive producer position basically is.
Okay.
And 2 new people are in charge. I don't know if this is part of it. This is my big holdup. I don't know what you guys though. What's your biggest problem with this, if you had any?
All right. So for me, it has to do more with the pacing. I didn't like how they kind of chopped up season 1 and threw some part of season 2 into season 1. It felt really rushed because after this, I watched this with my son Ryan, and after this, we just went back and rewatched the entire animated series from beginning to end. And what made season 1 so great is you had the side quests. You had all this time and allowed the story to develop kind of slowly, and all of this felt just really, really compacted and rushed.
You know what, Mr. McDonald? I had that same feeling about this show as well, and I happened to look it up on the internet. And I don't know if it's true, but I found this, that the cartoon season, book 1, was 477 minutes of runtime, and the Netflix show is 430 minutes of runtime. So that's only a difference of 47 minutes. And in the cartoon, that's 22 minutes an episode. So that's really only
an episode and a half.
2 episodes.
Oh, okay.
2 episodes that were cut out. But like you said, they added stuff from book 2 into it, which
I feel
doesn't
like
they didn't have to.
And a page of dialogue is a minute of acting.
Right.
So when you do it like that, you really still gonna have to cut stuff out because like 8 lines is worth a minute versus a minute of the cartoon, which is a little bit different. Either way, though, I agree with you. It was rushed. I didn't like the fact. I'm sorry to jump in, but I forgot about this part. Zuko.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I
pretty
hated this
much-
too.
Zuko tipping his hand that he's going to break good. That bothered me a little bit early
Yeah.
too, because he's supposed to be. When you watch the first episode, because I watched it myself and Charlie didn't tell me, and I didn't see it coming. The swerve, the little rock change where he's going to become good guy. I watched it with Bruce Bryn through Bryn's eyes because I knew it was coming, and he was the big bad all of season 1. Like, we got to watch out for Zuko. Season 1 just telegraphed how he was going to be good. Like they just laid out there like
They
guess
gave
what?
all
I'm
his
gonna be a
they
good
gave
guy.
all his evilness to Admiral
Yes.
Zhao. What was that guy?
Yeah, no, he's supposed to be a monster.
Yeah,
Yeah, the admirals, so
reverse-
they're both supposed to be
bad. Like
bad. No, I 100% agree with you that they made Zuko very soft and likable
too soon.
way too soon. So that when eventually he does break, because that's really book 2. That is his
That's when he starts
journey,
to break. Yeah, become
like
like
a
not-
lot, you know.
especially those scenes with Katora and everything. That's when you start
Yeah.
to see like signs of they just did it so early. I wouldn't. That's why I wouldn't have brought the sister in. The sister was brought in because he was, going good. We need now another +1 villain kind of thing, and that's when she came in that way in the original anime series. It's just
So this is superhero movie-itis, where they're like, we need more bad guys.
Yeah, there was really no reason to bring her in, and they made her appear very weak. They're building her the bad guy story, like building up that she
Yeah, they're giving all
never.
his beats to her.
Yeah,
And I feel like it's the payoff when Zuko, because look, when Zuko, his story arc is he starts to bend a little good and then it kind of falls back to doing bad stuff again and a little more good, a little bad. And then finally it's that very last straw where he's like, I can't be a part of this. And then he becomes good. And then you get the comedy of, hey, Zuko here. And, trying to be good. And that was great. Oh,
I don't feel like
it won't have the
truly
same
earn
emotional
it, 'cause
payoff.
you don't earn it, even though
Yeah.
you know it's coming. It's still. Did we earn it? Did we earn the point in? I'm jumping to Clone Wars. Did we earn the point when Ahsoka was in danger in that final Clone Wars episode about to die? They took her and made her to the point where like, oh my god, and we're on the edge of our seats. We knew they were going to turn on her, but we earned it. This is kind of a rush thing, so I don't know. And I get it's for kids. I get it, but even my daughter, because she was there to watch it, because I needed that kid perspective, because I know how jaded I am at my age. And she said, like, why are they making him go so fast? Like, isn't he supposed to be a jerk? Like, what are they doing? I'm like, I don't know, honey. But I'm going to tell the Fandalorians about it.
Now, Jimmy, having said that, Ryan loved the series because he wasn't, he's not looking that deep. Although what I thought was super interesting is just, I said after this, we watched the entire rest of the series, animated series, and then we watched Korra. And those episodes, like some of those episodes talk about some really deep stuff. They talk about genocide. They talk about fugitives. They talk about power dynamics. And just like, there's a lot of serious stuff going on here, like hidden as a kid's show.
well, I think Korra went more towards the fan base of the older people, where
Who grew up.
Avatar, The Last Airbender was originally a kids movie, kids television series that just had a lot of stuff for adults to enjoy as well. But I think they took it that more shift for Korra.
Well, because we watched this during COVID 4 years ago, and there was a lot of stuff I think that just went over Ryan's head because back then he was 8 years old,
Yeah.
and now as a 12-year-old, all of a sudden you see this and he just gets it a little bit more. But one of the things I thought that they did interesting in this live action version is they actually showed the destruction of the air temple, which kind of gave a little bit of seriousness. It allowed them to flex their special effects muscles a little bit. So if you didn't watch Avatar, you're like, oh,
That was a pretty cool battle scene.
yeah.
I didn't think it was necessary, but I get
Why
it.
not?
It's a different version. Why? Watching kids get slaughtered. It's a kid's show. It's aimed towards children. There's no need for that.
Yeah, I don't know,
No
once
need
again.
for that. I preferred what happened in the animated series where he goes to the area, finds a skeleton, and realizes these people have been slaughtered. We didn't need to see it. We lost the emotional beat of him discovering it because we watched it ourselves. That personally, I didn't think it was needed. I get why they're doing it because you want to show something different. You're flexing your muscles. You're showing something that wasn't in the cartoon. Okay. I would have left that part out. I would have found a different way to get to that emotion.
This isn't your father's avatar.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I disagree with that. Okay, it's fine, but I would have did it differently. Seeing children slaughtered, I don't know. Should we go that route? But okay.
I don't think they actually showed the children nomads.
It's pretty. If you show the children, you know they're getting slaughtered.
Yeah, the Jedi Temple, they got,
right.
They got taken out.
Okay,
too.
that's not really for little kids, though. It wasn't based on an animated cartoon show. It's different.
Star Wars is for kids.
Star Wars is absolutely for children.
That was not based on a cartoon for children that the kids watch, and then you watch a live action version and watch children get slaughtered. It's not the same thing. We can't go down this one. It's not the same thing. Let's go.
It is the same.
Splitting hairs.
Absolutely not.
Anyway.
No, not even close to splitting hairs. That's not.
Let's get
close.
to the teachers.
Kids getting murdered is not in the Avatar cartoon show. What are you talking about? It's not the same thing.
They were trying to murder Aang the whole time. That was the point of the show.
Actually, they weren't trying to murder Aang because if they murdered Aang, he would just get reincarnated.
That's true. They wanted to keep him alive for.
But they tried to murder everybody else.
Yeah.
But nobody was killed. It was clear we watched Avatar children die. Airbender children got killed. They didn't do that in the cartoon. That's my point.
Well, it wasn't until the Legend of Korra that they actually had death.
But that was based on the fact that what Mr. G just mentioned a minute ago.
I know.
Older audience.
No, because I noticed that as well when they killed the Ba Sing Se queen, and all of a sudden she died, and you're like, oh, they're addressing it and talking about it. Where it used to be like the old G.I. Joe, where like somebody gets like thrown off a cliff, and they're like, I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean, tell that to Gambit. It's just going downhill. Cartoons are different.
Hey,
I have
remember
to
him.
Age. All right, welcome to the Teacher's Lounge. If you've ever ventured in Teacher's Lounge, there are some conversations you may overhear like this. Best line or line in the series.
I think it was from the first episode as well. And it's Aang saying, Gyatso says I'm supposed to be the Avatar. Me. Monks don't even trust me to feed the baby bison. And I'm supposed to save the world?
That was a good line. Mr. J?
I didn't really keep track of funny lines. I think about one of my biggest things is how much I really enjoy Sokka's humor throughout the series, books 1, 2, and 3. He's got some classic lines all over the place. And I was waiting for him to say his famous line is, I'm just the guy with the boomerang, but I'm almost positive it doesn't happen until later in the series, so he didn't say it. He was the comedy relief. He tried to sneak it in there. Sometimes it didn't necessarily work out or wasn't as well as it was in the cartoon, but you could see they at least tried to have him as being the comedy in there, so I appreciated that.
Well, I mean, Ryan loved Sokka because he thought that Sokka had so much riz.
He was rizzing up everyone all over the place. Man,
they did a better job because they had to. When I knew that when the show was coming out, my big concern was like, all right, what are they going to do with him? Because he basically, for most of the original cartoon, thought women were incapable of anything and said it on and on and on and on. So either he does it in this new version and gets some comeuppance, or they cut it out completely because it's 2024 and he goes a different path. And they inevitably cut it out basically completely. And
but they shouldn't have.
They kind of little with the Kyoshi Warriors because that's where a lot of it was in the cartoon.
Yeah, because that's where you show growth.
They definitely cut out.
Oh, I agree. They did, but I don't think they should have.
My senior quote, which, and I'm going to be a total troll, is my favorite quote from the entire series of Avatar, the animated series. I had to look back at the cartoon. I had to find it and then type up what he said in the cartoon and then what he said in the show. And this entire segment for me is just me being mad that they took out my favorite line in the entire thing, which made just furious. So here's a line.
A life debt.
In the cartoon. Yeah, it is a life debt. Uncle Eero said this. This is when Zuko's practicing his firebending on the ship. His actual line from the cartoon quote is, and I'm not going to say it as good as him, but he goes, no, yelling at him. Power and firebending comes from the breath, not the muscles. And he obviously says it better than me. The breath becomes energy in the body. The energy extends past your limbs and becomes fire. Get it right this time. Now, he again says it way better than I could. In the show, he says, Ooh, very nice, Prince Zuko. Your firebending has become much epic style. That's what he did. Drove me insane. The line from the original cartoon was perfect because in literally that scene, and this is me when I first watched it, you have Uncle Iroh, which shows that one, his wisdom and his mastery, and you see Zuko's temper and desperation to be powerful. I guess is better for lack of a way. I was trying to come up with two for both.
Chasing power.
But, yeah, but his desperation to control, which he can't, and his anger. In just 2 lines, you sold all those characters, and that's what's initially hooked me on the scene when I first watched it with Mr. G. Just that scene, I'm like, oh wow, just show not tell. They had a couple quick things, they said a couple things, but it showed you their character. They gutted it. That made me mad. So this whole segment is me being annoyed that line's not there. That's all. I'm gonna go rewatch a cartoon too, Mr. McDonald. That's a good point. I didn't think to go back and rewatch it.
Not only did we rewatch the entire Avatar and the entire Korra, Ryan did it twice.
Yeah, shout out to Ryan.
I would come home and he'd just have it on. I'm like, didn't you just watch this episode? Yeah.
Stay out of my business, Dad.
Yeah.
Most
He's like, you don't get it.
The Google slide was on point. Watchable moment.
I had to rewatch the Kyoshi Warrior episode again. I really actually it was episode 2. I really enjoyed that episode a lot. I thought it was good storytelling in this particular part of the Avatar story. And there was that whole scene where they fight the firebenders in their the Kyoshi village. And I enjoyed that. But then I'm not gonna lie, I did have to rewatch the end again. The climactic scene at the end.
When Kyoshi came out and wrecked shop?
No, not that part. At the end in episode 8 when the firebenders attacked. Because much like Mr. Richardson was talking about, like what they changed in this, they for lack of a better word, I'm going to use the word nerf because I can't think of a better word for it, but they nerfed that whole battle sequence completely. But I could see where it came down to money.
Yeah, do you know how expensive that scene would be if they did it a cartoon accurate?
Yeah, it would have been super expensive.
Yeah. Now, my most rewatchable scene was that when Kyoshi came out as the Avatar and just wrecked everybody, because then that shows you what a full powered Avatar could and will look like. And storytelling wise, it just showed Aang, and he's like, I'm nowhere close to that. I love Kyoshi as a character because her answer to everything is just kill them all.
Yes, she is a very short in not in stature.
But she's like a fatalist. She's just like, no, kill them all like God sort them out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I absolutely hated the Kyoshi character in this. I couldn't stand it.
Well, but that's her character.
But I hated that it went against. I don't think I even liked it in the original version. Then I don't like how everything the past avatars represent was like guidance, except for this one, who tells the boy he has to be isolated. He can't have friends. He can't have anyone. He can't have any connection, which was different from every other avatar trying to work with him and give him guidance along the way. That shift just bothered me personally because that goes against every spirit guidance that this series pretty much did.
The idea is that you get different things from different avatars.
Yeah, you don't have to listen to all advice that you're given.
But to me, there's no advice. They you can't have human connection.
No, that's her advice.
They want
her
the boy to
advice
be isolated.
Don't have friends.
You basically want to turn him into what was it? Korok? What was the one's name who basically was considered the failure? Correct. What was
he was the waterbender
who was hunter. Isolated from everyone, and that's how he ended up. You're right. Am I wrong? Am I remember the story wrong?
Well, no, you're right and you're wrong. They kind of looked down on him because he ended up being using the avatar abilities for selfish reasons, and they weren't necessarily to bring balance and harmony to the world. Because he went after the face changer, that worm thing, the face stealer in the spirit world.
I don't know. I just felt the advice to isolate himself is like a self-fulfilling, snaking in its own tail nonsense. But
hold on, we're just talking about. But Jimmy, we're just talking about the most rewatchable scene. You wouldn't watch Kyoshi just wreck a bunch of firebenders for 3 minutes?
Yeah, no, but we talked about the character for a minute. That's why I did it on that.
But I just wanted to bring it back to, the outline. So we're not here for 2.5 hours.
No, I know, but if you mention the character, I have to counter. I can't just let it sit.
You know what, Jimmy? You don't have to.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because when I edit it, I'll yell at myself for not saying anything. What's wrong with you? I don't care that it's 9:34.
Do you ever do that? You ever rewatch this and you're like, and another thing?
Whatever we just did the other day, the fact that I had referred to the X-Men episode as the Red Wedding drove me nuts the second I'm like, it's the Red Wedding. I should have called it X-Men the Red Wedding. What was I thinking? Because if you Game of Thrones, Red Wedding, big deal. Yeah, so yes, I do it all the time. All right, funniest moment. Anything make you laugh in the series?
All right. So for me, I love, speaking of Riz, they changed it up in the series. The amount of Riz that Uncle Iroh has in that. Remember, there was the girl that was riding like the anteater looking thing, the hunter.
She is not an episode. She is not a book one character.
No, that's what I'm saying. They tried to squish too many things in season 1, but that's beside the point. But all of a sudden, she's like, "Hey, I like your hot grandpa," and you're just like, "Oh, Iroh, he's got the Riz."
Yeah. But no, Uncle Iroh is the real Uncle Iroh. Doesn't matter who it is. He's not my Uncle Iroh.
Did you know, by the way, in Korra, because I just did a ton of internet deep diving over the last couple of weeks.
Down, before you continue, you realize you're going off the outline, right? I just want to point out that you're going off the outline.
Speaking of not my Iroh.
A minute ago.
Well, you already established the precedent that we could go rogue, so I'm going to go rogue. I'm going to talk for 3 hours.
All right, you know what? You're right. That's a fair point. I opened the door for this.
Yeah.
Forbidden
but
doors
anyway,
opened.
So the character Mako is named Mako because that was the original Uncle Iroh's actor's name who died. And that's also why, if you notice, in most of season 2, Iroh has almost no lines.
And then it's not until the end of season 3 where his voice actually changes.
Yes, and then you're like, all right, it's a different actor. But by then, you don't even really...
The actor who did him in the first season passed away during the second?
Yes.
I don't know if it was the second season, but I know...
Enough not to do more.
There's enough that his voice changes.
Yeah, and because really from like the end of season 2 to the beginning of season 3... Remember, that's when he's locked in prison and he's just getting jacked.
Yeah.
And he's just not talking at all.
Is it in Korra? I don't remember if it's in Korra. Yeah, it has to be in Korra, where she goes into the spirit world and actually meets Iroh in the spirit world.
Mm-hmm.
His voice is completely not is a different person.
Yep. That's because that's his spirit. No, I'm kidding. I have no excuse for that.
What is the capital of New York? Martin Luther King Jr. Things that didn't make sense.
I feel like we talked about a bunch, but for me, it's why did they mess with the pacing? But go ahead, Charlie.
There's a ton of things, and it's like it's not that I didn't like it, so it's not like what would I do differently. It's more like kind of what I didn't like about it, and which didn't make sense. So, did Aang waterbend in this season at all? No,
not at all.
Him and him and Katara practiced waterbending.
Did you just call her Karen?
Yeah. Her,
Does she want to talk to the manager?
It was like Aang was like, "Oh, I know." It was almost like he was trying to be coy, like, "Oh, I know how to do this, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to make you feel bad about it. So I'm not going to try." But that was part of it. That was setting up the fact that Katara was really teaching Aang, and even though he was teaching her at the same time, it was allowing him to experience and learn and grow as well, because he was teaching her and they were practicing together,
right?
Which was a huge part of their relationship. Like, they're falling in love, as much as they're kids.
Spoiler alerts.
They're falling in love, and there was none of that kind of
I mean, every season he's supposed to learn a different ability, and that's how the seasons kind of go along. And now he's 0 for 1.
Go ahead, Charlie.
So there's a couple of other things. So that bothers me.
Let me add one thing to the Katara thing, because I have something to say on it, and it fits right here now. I agree with everything you said, because I thought they did a bad job with her character. If you look at Sokka, and they tried to tone down some of his comments, at least I felt like they did, not enough. They took out completely the fact that Katara was the mothering type, like that part of her character. Maybe they felt... And I agree 1,000% if Mr. McDonald agrees with me on this one, because I kind of was on the fence about the Sokka thing, but with this one, if he agrees, fine. I feel they told it. I was like, oh no, her being the mothering isn't what girls shouldn't do, so we're not going to have that. Her character, she has no mom. Her character is this. She's the mothering type. That's her part of this. and through the
How do they remember? They make fun of
with-
her in season 2 about it all of the time. It makes
and
for
in
great
working
jokes.
with but not even the jokes, even in working with the Avatar and Aang, that leads to what Mr. G is talking about. That mothering, taking care of them, and then doing her powers and seeing him being successful, challenging herself, grows her from the mothering to being partners with him in the journey versus a non-playable character, which she basically was in the show. She was just there. She was in the background. She helped out a little bit. She was not like in the main line. Usually in this show, we watch the cartoon, 3 of them, 4 when who shows up. It's all 4 of the main, like the A-team. That's the crew. She has a step back because she doesn't have her journey, not even beginning, even the love story. I forgot about Mr. G, but even this part with the waterbending, everything, and being the mothering type, she took a step back. Everyone took a step back, and it was just the Aang show. And I thought they did a bad job with this.
Yeah, the only thing with her character that really did anything was she was like, "Let the women fight," and that was it.
And even that was my next part that I was going to.
Go for it. We're still talking.
That whole end sequence in the cartoon is so strong. We're women. We could fight. We could do this. Why are we left that?
Like the patriarchy.
It was so exactly, and it was so like. I thought it wasn't done very well as it was in the cartoon.
I mean, like they needed more time, like I said before.
I don't know what it was, but it was bad.
It was set up.
I think it's a little of both. It's bad pacing, bad writing.
Speaking about Katara learning waterbending, so in the animated series, Gran gives her a scroll that teaches her all the waterbending moves. In the actual cartoon, they end up stealing it from the pirates, and it's a whole thing. She's like, I shouldn't steal this, but I want it. But like that episode was a fun episode that they could have put in here instead of having all of this added things that didn't need to be in this episode, in this season. Then talking about what didn't make sense, the whole like King Boomy in episode, it was episode 3 and 4, where King Boomy was like mad at Aang, and like Aang knew right away that was King Boomy. But what angered me about it was that King Boomy was testing him in the cartoon, but in a fun way because Aang never realized it was him. But in this one, he was like mean and kind of being a jerk about it. But I get it. I feel like maybe Boomy, I actually liked it better in this, honestly, in this Netflix series, how Boomy's attitude was like, yeah, I'm mad at you. You left us hanging. And what am I supposed to like just open the door and be like, hey, you know where you been for the last 100 years while my people have actually suffered tremendously? And all of this has happened because you just up and went away. So I feel like his anger was good, and I liked that a lot. But that overall everything there, like they only said my cabbages once.
How dare they? Do you know that was the voice actor of the guy who originally said my cabbages?
Oh, yeah? They only did it once. And like that whole scene with the like bombing with Jet and the oh my God, I thought that was terrible.
I almost felt like the people who did this show watched it, maybe it was on the background or something, and they put in these little Easter eggs, like you said once, just so people know, listen, we watched the show. We mentioned cabbage, guys. We watched this. We know things, so no one to call them out of. Because you're right. I just felt like
it's like I'm surprised he didn't just stare into the camera and said, "My cabbages."
Guys, we watched it. We're not M. Night. We don't know him. He's not our friend.
Jet's character is cool in the show. I love that whole Jet's character and his little band of people, Duke and Pipsqueak, and the one with the red on her face.
Yeah,
she's got the funny name.
Yeah.
And then there was Sure Shot, but like that whole part where it was like they were gonna blow up the case, like the suitcase bomb.
Yeah.
And it was really what's his name from Community that was the
Danny
Tinkerer.
Cooney. Yeah.
And like that, they never even met them at the Air Temple. They were just there at Omashu. I just thought that bothered me in terms of an out of place storyline.
Well, that does bring us to the next category there, Mr. Richardson.
Yeah, slowest part of the series. Mr. G, can I go to the bathroom?
The slowest part was when they went to the spirit realm.
Yes, they didn't even go to the spirit. Like that bothered me. Like the whole point of the Avatar is that the Avatar is the connection between the spirit
Right.
world and whatever. So, but no, they got pulled into the spirit world too. Like, no,
I agree.
you can't go into the spirit world.
Yeah, you
That's
can't. No.
that's the slowest part
like
because
some-
everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that was a thing."
Any
Was
other
the
thing,
blue
Donald,
man?
or-
Hold on. Was the Blue Devil? Was that even in season 1 also, or was that like a season 2
That
thing?
was
I
season,
thought that was season 2.
that was
Yeah.
season
Where he-
2.
Yeah, when he I thought that was
Already,
season 2.
Secret Tunnel was season 2. That
Yes.
was ridiculous. He's was it Leaves from the Vine was season 2. That was Tales from Amashu with Uncle Iroh when he sings the song.
Yes, and that is in the animated series.
That's
I
the best
personally
episode.
feel is one of the greatest episodes ever.
I will give them credit on this. I understand the pacing issues, like you feel like you're rushing through it, but you can't assume you're having a season 2. So you have to do basically what I refer to as an Aquaman, put everything possible in the first one because you don't know you're getting a second. So for them to squeeze all this in there, not knowing, listen, we might not get another season, we would just go all in. Now you got season 2 and 3. That's why I'm hopeful they can slow it down and let it breathe a little bit because now they have 2 to work with. I guess 16 episodes to work with versus we got another 8. Let's just throw it all in there. We got to go. We got to get what's her name? What's her name again? Blind girl. Post it. What's her name?
Oh,
Toph.
Toph.
We got Toph in
Toph
here. We got to
Girl.
make this happen. So
You know what
All
I
right,
did like
what-
actually? Hold on, going back to the Secret Tunnel episode because I love that Secret Tunnel episode. Secret Tunnel was
Secret Tunnel. Sorry.
I really like it once again in the live action. Like better how they said that love will light the way
Yeah, that was interesting.
because in
Positive change.
the cartoon it was just the lights went off and then there was the iridescent crystals and they just followed that. In this one they had the crystals but didn't really help. It was the fact that the badger moles could sense the love between them and the connection, and that's what got them through. The badger moles let them through, not just the path of darkness. Because I always thought to myself, well, if you were in the tunnel and you had a torch and the torch just went out, you could just see the crystals. So why couldn't you just get out that way?
Sure.
So
that's a great point.
it was the badger moles could smell the love, and I like that because I felt the love.
Star student, best actor, character in the show. Who gets the sticker? I'm gonna jump in real quick with mine. My sticker are the executive producers who left this project to go do the animated version at Paramount. It's like, you know what, this is not going to work for me. We're not trusting this. We're going to go make a cartoon that I cannot wait to watch.
Wait,
I know Mr. G can't. I know Mr. G's getting Paramount Plus. You cannot tell me Mr. G will not be in line going, yeah, I'm going to get it. Because when that cartoon hits, oh, you know I'm watching it. Anyway, they're getting my sticker because they ran away.
Do you think they saw like the first script or they started shooting the first scene and the two guys just start staring at each other, like giving that like a let's go?
I spent the whole time looking for the mistakes, the couture. I think some of the things we talked about, they probably were like arguing with them. Netflix had a little more creative control and said, no, we're doing it. And they were like, yeah, I'm not going to.
All right, we're out.
Paramount was like, yo, we'll give you money, make more cartoons. Go on.
Heck yeah.
So they get a sticker for knowing when to cut and run.
Well,
What about you guys?
for me, I'm going to go the Riz King himself, Sokka.
I actually had to look online to see if that was his real face or if he was wearing prosthetics.
Because he does look just like him.
Exactly. That's his face.
Yeah. It's great casting.
So the casting director.
Yeah, that's literally his face. And I was looking at the cartoon and I like literally pulled it up on my phone and looking at Sokka and I'm like, that really looks like Sokka. Like down to his nose and his chin proportions and everything. This is the first time I'm stumped with who am I going to give my sticker to, but it's really going to be the most compelling character right now is definitely Zuko. I think his character casting is perfect, and I do like his character a lot in this show. And you know what, Lord Ozine, he's pretty tough and creepy and scary.
I'm going to give them a shout out because you mentioned Anya Koloff, Michael V. Nicola, and Michelle Olivia Tidwell are the casting directors for this series. And I know they listen.
Bravo.
So we're giving them credit for the incredible casting. I had to pull their names up because you're right. That he did look just like him. And I feel like he watched the cartoon too. Who ate my lunch? What prop would you steal from the show if you were on the set, assuming everything you can take, even the stuff that was CGI, was real? McDonald.
Oh, wait. So that means I can take Appa and or Moma?
I would
Momo?
totally take Appa and Momo, but I'm gonna go a different route. But yes.
Well, did you notice? Because they spent a ton of money on Appa and Momo, And that's why they're only in like one scene an episode because they're so expensive to render that they're like, hey, come back here, Momo, and that was it. You know, they don't have to render him. But if I can't take Appa or Momo, I'm gonna take that blue devil mask.
That is a cool mask.
Yeah.
I want the double swords. The doubles.
Oh, those were cool.
Yeah, I like that.
But they're cooler in the show when he teaches the little kid how to use them correctly. And I mean, in the cartoon, they're both shows.
I liked the Kyoshi Warrior. I always liked it, even in the cartoon. So I would take everything, actually, the entire wardrobe. I would just steal everything.
So you just want to get a Kyoshi Warrior wardrobe for your wife?
Yeah, like, I'll take an Aang Airbender, a Nomad outfit. I'll take a winter coat.
Oh, you just want all the fits.
I just want everything. I just want to fit check. The only thing I wouldn't take is King Boomy stuff. That was a little bit gaudy for me.
Yeah,
I'll be walking around with my daughter, be like, fit check.
Yeah,
I'll take everything. I want the wardrobe. I love it all.
teasing again next year. It's official. There's 2 more seasons. New showrunners are in charge. What would you like to see in the next seasons? I tipped mine a little bit early. You now have 2 seasons instead of 1. You have 16 episodes, assuming they go 16. Let's say they go 10, that's 20, whatever. You can slow it down. We can slow down a little bit. We can change the plot a little bit. We're not racing for a season 3. You can space it out. And if worse comes to worse, maybe talk about season 4 into them. But who knows? You have space, hopefully, to just slow down. Give Katara something to do.
Let them cook.
Give her a plot. You already tipped your hand that Zuko's turning good, so I don't know where you're going to go with that. I need storylines and progression for everyone involved so it comes together at the end and forms like Voltron. That's me. What about you?
Yeah. Look, I agree with everything there. They need time for Aang and Katara to flirt.
Yes.
They need time for Toph to get introduced and have that kind of tension and resetting of the group.
The dynamics, yes.
And then they have to do it again with Zuko, and it's there's so much meat on the bone.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's such a rush to get as much as you can possible. But yeah, no,
you got 2 seasons now.
You're good.
So.
You're good.
This is what I want. It's not going to happen. But when they meet Toph and they need money. So they go and they
the boulder
wrestling the boulder. They need to get Dwayne The Rock Johnson as that character and be the boulder. If they did that, that would be a tip of the hat to them because he is actually The Rock, and that's why they call him Boulder. The Boulder.
Well, do you know who his voice was in the series?
No,
Mick Foley.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So they should have that. But I want to see Sokka buy things and shop and walk around towns and buy things
and eat.
That's a whole part of his character. It's like buying stuff.
No, his whole character is making decisions with his stomach.
Yes, and there's that one episode when he's learning to Aang is learning to earthbend, and Sokka spends the entire episode stuck inside that little hole.
Yes,
and he's trying to eat that moose lion, and he's like, "Come, delicious meat."
Can you believe she or he asked the question at the end of the meeting? Anything else you want to discuss before we break up out of here? I'm clean. I think I covered everything.
I got something. Because of course I do.
Of course you do.
Would you have liked this show better if it were weekly?
Yes.
This is the age-old debate. For this show,
yes.
For this show, I would say yes.
And I, hands down, think the weekly show is better. And if anything proved it to me more than anything was this X-Men episode 5 of X-Men 97 proves that weekly episodes are better.
Well, it makes it more water coolery. And I think what the problem is, Netflix was such a unique thing that binging was so novel and unique that now everyone's like, yeah, whatever. And now the novel and unique part is having it weekly. And, what's old is new again. It gives you time to digest the episode, to water cool it, to, dissect it, to anticipate. There is no anticipation when you're like, on to the next one.
No, exactly. and yeah, like you said, I think we said this many times over the years in this podcast. even when we're doing this, we never would have done an X-Men episode 5 if we were binging, because it'd be like, listen, we would do it when the whole series is over and have to talk about that one episode. Instead, we've all sat on it for a week, as sat in terms of waiting for the next episode, thinking about what happened, where are they going from here. Eddie, when he's not in pain, apparently just texts me about he just watched it and he has questions about X-Men lore that he doesn't know because he has some idea, but he doesn't know it like I've read every comic up until like 2006. So I know. But the point is, it doesn't happen when you binge. Like with Stranger Things, when we did it, it's kind of like you got to watch all 7 before you can talk to someone about it. I accidentally spoiled the ending. I accidentally spoiled the ending for Carter because I thought he had watched them all. Like the first thing you asked what episode you are, then people said, "Did you see episode 4?" And you don't remember because you binged them all.
Which one was that?
Yeah, so it's I get it. This would have been good to space out. It would have breathed a little bit more, just like the show needs to breathe a little bit more. It's the same concept.
I'm going to give Amazon credit. I do like what their style is. Have you noticed what every Amazon show pretty much does?
Not every.
I'm saying most. They do 3 episodes in the initial drop, then weekly.
They didn't do that with Fallout, and now they're catching slack for that. They dropped all of Fallout.
But that's foolish.
They dropped all of the Reacher first season. But then Reacher became one of the biggest things on Amazon. So then they did 3 and the rest for season 2.
Yeah.
And I feel like they do the same for Fallout because Fallout is blowing up and it's big.
Good to know.
They don't have the water cooler talk. They don't have people tweeting about like X-Men was pretty much the biggest thing tweeted out for the entire week, all over social media. Doesn't happen like that with Fallout because if you didn't watch it, people don't want to spoil it, and not everyone saw it, so it just sits there. So yeah, that's I prefer the give me 3, which is almost like a movie, and then give me weekly episodes after the movie.
I think it's a great strategy.
So yeah. All right, final grade, guys. Final grade for this series. Mr. G is going to go last because he is the professional Avatar expert. I will not follow you on this. Mr. McDonald, you go.
I'm going to go C+. It took big swings and it was okay. Like I said, it could have been really, really bad and it could have been really, really good. But it was neither of those. It was fine. It was a C+. Mr. Richardson?
I completely co-sign the C+. And it's very, very, really great. But yes, if you tighten up that script, if you just tweak a couple of lines and you spread it out, which you can do, there's enough there where I'm hopeful for the next 2 seasons to be better. Seasons 2 and shows get better. I think Seinfeld was terrible season 1. A lot of okay, that's a good bar to put it against, but you get my point. Friends was terrible season 1. You can grow. There's room for growth. They got the cast. They need a better director to work with these kids to help them out with some things. I see enough where I'm excited. And if you're doing 2 more seasons, maybe give them a little bit more money. Let them go 1 episode of a season. Just do it. Give them some money. Make it happen. Let's go.
I actually believe everything you said, but I'm going to give it a B. And I'm going back to my B because visually, I thought it looked exactly what I wanted it to look like. And to me, a lot of things of how it looks, how it feels, like do these characters actually live in that world is big on me. And that's like one of the reasons I hated the Transformers right from the get-go. They didn't look like Transformers. I didn't like any of those other Ninja Turtle Michael Bay things because they all weird looking. It's not my Ninja Turtles. It doesn't feel like the Ninja Turtles to me. But this, to me, felt like the Avatar. It felt like what I expected things to look like. So that's what really, I think, did a great job in making this. Yes. Was some of the dialogue terrible? Yeah. Was some of their acting, could have been better? Yeah. Was some of their choices? Yeah. But overall, the story, it wrapped up season 1. I'm going to give it a B.
So we got C+, we got C+, we got B. Either regardless, we're all going to watch the next one. For Mr. McDonald, Mr. G, I am Mr. Richardson. Thank you always for listening. We will talk to you next time.